Finding the perfect exhaust system can be pretty tricky. Sometimes you end up buying one that's too loud, or sometimes you end up buying one and it's too quiet. But what if there was an exhaust out there that allowed you to control when you wanted to be loud or quiet? Well, stick around for today's video because XForce has that exhaust for us. This is the XForce 3-inch catback exhaust system for the Ford Bronco. And I'm going to start off by saying I'm pretty happy to actually have this kit here with us today for our Bronco. We recently installed one of these on an S550 Mustang, and I couldn't be happier with the end result. Now, like I said, this is going to be a full catback system. We are going to be installing this on our Bronco, which is a 2.3 liter, but don't worry, if you have a 2.7 liter Bronco, they make the exact same exhaust system for that as well. The XForce exhaust, when compared to any other exhaust system for the Bronco, is completely different. And that's because the muffler actually has a butterfly valve in it, so you can control how loud you want your exhaust to be with the touch of a button or through the app on your phone. Now, speaking of the app on your phone, if you do want to control it that way, you do have to purchase the smart box from XForce, which we will have a completely separate video on showing you all the features and how to use it. Now, as far as the exhaust goes, this is going to be a 3-inch T304 stainless steel tubing, and there's going to be no permanent modifications needed to install this exhaust. So essentially, we'll put this on just like a factory exhaust, and if for some reason, if you ever need to go back to your factory exhaust, you can do so easily. Now, if you do want to purchase this exhaust, we do have it on our website at cjponyparts.com. But let's go ahead, send the Bronco up in the air, get this factory exhaust off, and get this new one on and see how it sounds. Before we jump into today's install, if you have any questions about the tools that we're using, check out cjponyparts.com/tools or click the link in the corner of the video for a free video and PDF file showing you what tools you should have and how to use them properly and safely. To start this off, we're going to go ahead and remove the muffler, and to do that, we just need to loosen up this 15mm nut here, which will loosen the exhaust clamp. Now I'm going to remove the muffler from the clamps here. With our muffler out of both of the exhaust hangers, we can now go ahead and remove the muffler itself. Now we're going to remove the two nuts that hold the exhaust to the cat section here. Now we're going to remove the two bolts that hold on the side exhaust hanger. Once you have those bolts removed, you can actually just pop the hanger off here. Now we'll remove the exhaust hanger from the exhaust itself, and then we'll remove one more hanger and pull the exhaust tubing out. With our factory exhaust finally out of here, it's time to go ahead and start bolting up this XForce exhaust. I have the mid pipe here, and we're just going to start this off. We're going to loosely bolt it up to our cat. After you have those started, go ahead and grab the side exhaust hanger here and put it on the end of your new XForce exhaust. And put it back in its correct spot. Once you have that in its spot, go ahead and put the bolts back in for that. Now I'm going to tighten these nuts up just a little bit more, but not all the way. Before we move on and start finishing out the rest of the exhaust, I do want to point out something that's pretty important actually. Off camera, I started piecing the exhaust together and I noticed that everything just seemed a little bit too long. It wasn't lining up. And that's because of this pipe here. Now I'm sure in the last clip you noticed this pipe was a lot longer, and that's because I actually had to go ahead and cut it. So if you have a 2-door model Bronco, you're going to do the same thing I did and cut this first piece of piping here. Now you're going to cut the pipe about 15 3/4 of an inch, and then that'll get you to where you need to be so everything lines up correctly. So again, if you have a 2-door model, you have to cut this pipe. If you have a 4-door model, you do not have to cut this pipe. You leave it the way it is, the way it came out of the box. It's now time to add the next piece of the puzzle here. And before you do so, just go ahead and throw a clamp on. That way you don't end up forgetting after you get the exhaust piece on. Then just slide this guy on. With this piping on and our clamp on, we're just going to tighten this up a little bit, not all the way. We still want to have a little bit of wiggle room just in case we have to make adjustments later on. Now we're going to put the rear section of the exhaust on, but again, before doing so, just slide a clamp over the pipe. It's now time to install our muffler, but again, don't forget the clamp. Once your clamp's on there, grab your muffler and put it on. And again, tighten the clamp down, but not all the way. Now we're just gonna swivel our exhaust over, move it over, bring it closer to our hanger, and then start getting this into the actual exhaust hanger. Now that we have the muffler loosely installed, we're gonna go ahead and install our exhaust hanger bracket. Now when you're looking at us installing this bracket, you're gonna notice this is a lot different from what came inside of your kit. And that's mainly because we have the A/B bumper. Since we have the A/B bumper, we actually had to cut a piece of our bracket off for it to be able to work, but everything should still work perfectly fine, and our exhaust should be secured once we get this in. Now, when you are installing this bracket onto your 2.3 liter 2-door Bronco, you will have 2 spots for bolts. Unfortunately, like I said, since we have the A/B bumper, we had to modify this bracket a little bit for it to be able to work. So it's time to put our exhaust tips on, but before doing that, I wanted to mention they actually give you 2 different style exhaust tips that you can run inside the kit. After you pick which tip you wanted, go ahead and throw on a clamp and your tip of choice. Slide it on the muffler. So I want to explain exactly what I did to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you guys at home. Earlier, I told you to take this rubber hanger and put it on the new bracket. But what I found out to be a little bit easier is if you take this rubber hanger and actually put it on the tip section first and then put it on the bracket, it'll make getting this tip on a lot easier. Now that we have that set up on the top side here, we're gonna go back under the Bronco, pull that wire all the way through, connect it to the valve that's on our muffler, and then come back to the top side, finish everything up, and see how this sounds. Now that we have everything hooked up on the underside of the Bronco, it's time just to finish everything up here. So it's pretty simple. All we have to do is plug the other side of the wiring harness into our box here, and then we'll double side tape this down into the cargo area so it's not flying around. All right, now that all the wires are tucked away and the muffler has power, we can go ahead and go through all the different modes it has. So we're gonna start off with the exhaust valve fully closed, so this should be almost close to stop. And with it fully closed, you can notice that it is pretty close to stock. You have a little bit more of a tone there, but not too much. And with the valve fully open, it obviously sounds awesome. You get a super aggressive exhaust note out of it. It's pretty loud. Now the nice thing about this exhaust is you don't have to leave it fully open or fully closed. If you want to put the valve 25%, 50%, or 75% open, you can do that. And that way you can end up finding the perfect exhaust note that fits you. wrapped up on the XForce exhaust install, and I gotta say my feelings are still the exact same as the beginning of the video. I am super happy with this exhaust. The install went very smooth, it was a very easy install, and the exhaust sounds amazing. Now, with this being the first valved exhaust for the Bronco on the market, I'm super happy with it, and I really can't wait to dial in the perfect exhaust note for me. Now, if you'd like to buy this exhaust, you can purchase them on cjponyparts.com, but it's time to drop a gear and disappear. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, if you need any off-road part needs, just click the link down below in the description.